you could get up and leave a dock at 8, and you could go out and see 10 or 12 blue marlins a day if you had a good day. But then the white marlin fishing was fantastic.
Yeah.
Your we cranked, I don't know how many times I'd yelling back there, crank that damn ballyhoo away from that feet herd, you know?
And how did it start out? Like, what was the origin story?
Too much alcohol.
Really? Okay.
Says if God wanted us to have fiberglass boats, he would have given us fiberglass trees.
It's for fishermen. It's not for taking the wife and the wife's friends.
I think that it's a really, really pretty boat.
And then there was a blur that went by and ended up in the cockpit, as far as if I can remember correctly.
Hello, everybody. It's Anthony Pino from Hook Optics and the captain of the Blood Money. This is the State of Sport Fishing. My co-host Nick is in Harbor Island, just taking his new boat to Harbor Island. So in the Bahamas for the first time. So he won't be here, but it'll be just me and Captain Steve Richardson of the Backlash out of Virginia Beach. Steve, thank you for joining us, and I'm excited to hear about your story. You've been around the Mid-Atlantic fishing scene for a long, long time.
Yeah, it's basically all I've ever done. I mean, from the time I could, get on a boat and go out with my father on his charter boat back in the early 60s and stuff, to the time I started working on a boat as a mate, like in 1971, I was mating on a boat, and then went on through that, loved it, followed my brother's footsteps. He was a mate on a boat that traveled back and forth up and down the coast, back and forth to Florida, fishing all the tournaments. And I chased along behind him, and actually he helped me along my journey. And we went along, and I always wanted to be better than him, and he was always good. Everywhere he went, he always did better than a lot of. And so I chased after him. So I got to go to a lot of places and work out of Florida, work in the Bahamas, work in Mexico, go to Venezuela, go to St. Thomas. Got to do a lot of great things as a mate.
When did you said your dad had a charter boat. When did you start fishing on that? And what was fishing? Was that out of Virginia Beach to start too?
Was out of Virginia Beach. He actually started running charters in 1966 on a boat called the Touche. And then he bought the Touche and started. He was one of the first out of 8 that came in Rudy Inlet. Started actually in the history book, and they led the line coming in there in 1968 to start Rudy Inlet. And we went from there. And back then I was too young to really mate. I actually rode along with him and watched him. My brother was the mate. He was 3 years older. And as time went on, I got to work on other charter boats and stuff there. And as a kid, I would never hire a kid as young as I was. But, things are different today than they were back then. We had to work hard.
What was fishing like when you started? Did you guys, what was the typical charter? Did you guys go do the all-shore marlin fishing thing, or was it? We
did it all, but we'd start in April, May, we'd be catching big blues, 9, 10, 12-pound blues. And we used to always say, man, we can't wait for these things to go on. Then the school bluefins would show up. And that was our big thing. We used to love catching the schoolie bluefins. And then come July, we never went offshore until July back. And then we went out, catching the white marlins and stuff. Matter of fact, I remember one of the days, I was out there. It's kind of funny. I was telling my mate I have now about it. I said, one day the charter walked up to me after I missed about 10 white marlin in a row and said, son, can I try it? But it goes back a long way. It was some kind of good fishing back then. And we didn't have to go as far.
Yeah. Going to the Norfolk out of Virginia Beach was going to the end of the earth, I'm sure, back then.
No doubt. We got to 30,000. We thought sea monsters were going to get us. We never go out,
That's pretty cool.
Now I don't slow down until I get to the 100.
Yeah. And then you how long? And then I assume you worked for your dad for a little bit.
I worked for him a little bit. It was tough working for your father. You know that he always expects you to be better than anybody else. So we bring it home to my mom, and she didn't like it very much. So I moved on from there and went to work for other people, and was very fortunate to get jobs working on boats that had really good captains that taught me a lot of stuff, that took me stuff like Ronnie Hamlin. I went to Venezuela with him first time when I was a kid. I've done a lot of things. Mike Finch, he's dead now. He's the one that mainly got Virginia Beach going on the white marlin fishing. Years ago, he passed away from cancer, but I've seen a lot of my good old friends pass away.
Yeah.
But it gave me a little bit of advantage here because I got to go other places, see other things, be taught by other people,
Yeah. When where did you go with the late great Ron Hamlin?
Well, with Ronnie, I went the first trip. I took the job in Florida, and we went to Venezuela. I didn't last very long on that trip. There was a lot of things going on back then that I didn't really want to be a part of if I got out of town. But he was a great fisherman. And later on in life, when I was working for a gentleman called Bill Goot, running a boat called the Chaos, Bill bought another boat and sent it to Guatemala. And when he did, I got him to hire Ronnie, and Ronnie did a fantastic job for him. Of course, he started a lot of good things with circle hook and everything else. I mean, he wanted the pioneers of the circle hook. Mm-hmm. But I didn't like him in the beginning. But now I wouldn't even want to try to hook a white marlin on a J hook anymore. You know, It's a different world.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the progression you've seen in the white marlin fishing in all your years out of Virginia Beach. I mean, I know you're kind of famous for some in really incredible days. I can't remember. That wasn't like in the mid 90s, maybe, or you had some incredible days. I can't remember. I can't honestly remember it.
Well, we had incredible days. We had days there when they first came up ball and bait and stuff that we caught over 60 in a day casting to them. But that's a whole different type of fishing. And then later on, I guess in 95, we broke the trolling record with 27 whites and 3 blues, which was a large number for that time.
Oh, yeah.
And then later on, I broke it again. Then John Duffy broke my record. I caught 42 whites and a blue one day, and he went out there and got on them by himself and had a fantastic day. But I think
57. Yeah.
Yeah. And
what was it like? I mean, back in the day when you first started that, were you running boats by the time you first really started to see good white marlin fishing, or were you still a mate?
Well, I was actually I was a mate working on a gannet with a Captain Fred Feller back in those days. And then I went, because he yelled at me so much, I got my first captain's job working on a boat called a Stack 'em High. We went off and actually won the Oregon Lake Marlin tournament that year, my first go round in the tournament. And went from there to different jobs, and some other people hired me. I ran a 47 Davis for 5 or 6 years, and then I ran the tracker that my buddy Pace Fonville bought, a 60 Jim Smith boat. I ran that everywhere, and we ran some charters, but not a whole lot. But for all that, in between that time, I ran a boat called the Bobcat, and I had that boat 7 years, and Shelton Midget built it. And it was a great boat. We caught a lot of fish. Back then, we had it was really good.
Yeah.
Excellent fishing. Anyway, then I private boated for a while, then went back 26 years ago and bought the Backlash, and been my own boss since then,
Yeah. What made you, did you always have that dream to become run your own boat and own your own boat, or just something that came about?
Well, I like responsibility, and I like taking over, and always wanted to have my own boat. And then I was fishing on the Chaos in Bermuda, and got to be good friends with Alan the Silver, and he was building a new boat. And I bought the Mako 4, the Jim Smith boat from him. And I bought that in 2000 and ran that boat up until 6 years ago, and then bought Purdue, the 56-foot Purdue, the Backlash, which was a great boat. I love that boat. Matter of fact, when I sold that boat, I laid in bed a couple nights saying, why did I sell it?
Yeah.
But, looking at what's going on today, I'm kind of glad I did.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I'm just trying to get a grasp of what white marlin fishing was like in the 80s and early 90s.
Marlin fishing in the 80s was great. Yeah. And then we went like 1990. We have a lot of yellowfin tunas, very few white marlins. We had a club here at Virginia Beach, Cape Henry Billfish Club. And every year they give a charter boat a 50 international for winning, the most billfish of the year. And 2 years in a row, I won it with under 20 white marlin. And that was fishing 160 days a year.
Wow.
And it disappeared. It was a lot. Tuna fishing was fantastic. White marlin fishing was not.
Do you think that was condition oriented? Like didn't have the right water, or
didn't have the bait?
Didn't have the bait. Gotcha.
When the squid's thick, the tunas are thick. When the sardines are thick, the white marlins are thick.
Yeah. You're talking about those little black things that they eat.
Mm-hmm. The small sardines and stuff. That's what we throw the cast net on when they're balling bait and stuff, and throw them to them. You got to match the hatch to catch them. Yeah. Somebody
said they were called them crack minnows. They were white crack for white marlins. I can't remember. I think it was Daniel Davis, Backlash Davis, who might have coined that phrase. But yeah, I've only at the beginning of my career, and then kind of in the middle in the 2010s was I got to see a lot of that, and that was the whole reason why I fish. It's just crazy that you've been seeing that for so long. I think it's incredible.
Yeah, it got really good again. I talked to a lot of these young cats started in 2010 and stuff when the white marlin fishing got outraged.
Yeah.
I've had days out there, where I don't even know how many bites we had. I don't keep track of it, but it's fantastic fishing. And the last couple of years, it slowed up a little bit, but it's still a lot better than I've seen it go to. A lot better.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's because I remember like years and years ago, it was like they were almost endangered, or said they were endangered.
Well, that would have been 12 years ago. I was at one of the meetings we had here, and they came and talked to us, and they were talking about, they sold part of our swordfish quota somewhere because we won't catch it enough. The white marlin population are talking about putting a moratorium on them and so forth. Well, that same year, we broke out the same year. I think it was 1,200 caught in the white marlin open.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, here again. Okay, and they came out, dropped out of the sky.
Yeah.
So, and then it stayed good. It stayed great. Up until the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And you still go out and see 7 or 8. You're bummed out. You're used to seeing 20, 30, Yeah.
And like in September, September has been kind of a letdown the last couple of years, at least up here in Ocean City. It's been kind of everybody's always like, oh, wait for September. And then kind of last 2 years, it hasn't been great. It's been better for us in July.
Yeah. Well, we get it here in July and stuff, but it's mainly mid-July, August, and September. And, we had real good white marlin fishing last year in October. Mm-hmm. Really good. But not many of us out.
Yeah.
And here in Virginia Beach, didn't like dealing with Ocean City. I'm very familiar and fish Ocean City quite a bit. I have days I don't see a boat. Yeah. It's on the radio. So if you find them, you got them. You're not fighting everybody over. And when we do find them the next day, Ocean City, I don't care how far they got to run.
They'll be there. Don't worry.
Yeah, they'll be there. So,
tell us about your time on the Backlash, and from just kind of start from the beginning and kind of the progression of, maybe some good days, or some good seasons or tournament wins. I mean, like you've been, that was quite a journey. Shoot, for me, it's almost a lifetime.
Oh yeah. I've won a lot of tournaments and stuff in my life, but everybody's dream is always to win the white marlin, and I had several times where heck in 98, I was winning the thing from the first 5 minutes until the last 5 minutes, and then I got knocked to third. They didn't take anything in third place back then. And things have changed. And then I've had other times where I've got third place where you won $100,000. And I've been very lucky to go and win the whole thing with just my fiance and her cousin on board, and just us doing it, and got lucky and won it with a 94-pounder. And that would have been in 2015, I believe.
Yeah.
And that would have been on the Jim Smith boat. And then we went another time, I guess it was 2 years ago. 2 years ago or 3 years ago, we caught a fish. I told the mate, I said, don't bring him in the boat. He's not big enough. They said, I think he's big enough. I said, I don't think he is. They went in and brought in a boat. He made the measure, and he won more money than the first place did a few years before.
Yeah.
Never know. So,
let me ask you this, because I see some really great fishermen up here. They will change their strategy of typically fishing for those two big tournaments, the Mid-Atlantic and the White Marlin Open. Do you change anything when you go fishing like your tactics, or do you just go fishing?
Well, I'm not numbers fishing when I'm fishing.
Yeah.
I don't get involved in the release stuff. It'd be nice to win it, but most of the time I'm dealing with people that are not capable of keeping up with these guys. They go to Guatemala, they go to Costa Rica, they go all these places, and they're hooking hundreds and hundreds of fish. Mm-hmm. My people, usually when it comes up there, it's the first one they've ever seen. And so you got to change your tactics. So, and I don't go to deep water. When there's big numbers being caught, they're usually all cookie cutters. They're all close to the same. Every time I've won money or something in a White Marlin Open, it has been in shallow water.
Yeah.
I'm in there thinking, well, this really stinks. We're not going to see crap. And next thing you know, here he comes.
Yeah.
And you get your 1 or 2 bites, but it's the right 1 or 2 bites.
Yeah. That's been incredibly difficult for me to do. Like, I was fortunate enough to win the Mid-Atlantic a couple of years back, and we caught it in 47 fathoms just above the tip of the Washington, Mm-hmm. But I try to, like, when I fish those tournaments, I try not to really get myself in the mindset that I got to do something crazy different. I just want to go somewhere where I feel like I can see a couple fish,
mm-hmm.
like a put together a consistent couple days, because my theory is you can't catch a big white marlin if you catch no white marlins at all,
Well, you're right there. And now with the sonars and all that, that's another reason why I sold my boat, trying to run a business and pay your house payments and all that stuff that I do out of my business, and then spending $100,000 on this and $100,000 on that, trying to keep up with the Joneses. It was my turn to bow out because I can't keep up with the Joneses. I'm not that league. And changing your tactics. I mean, 2 times in 30,000, I won a lot of money. Okay. I was on the Canyon Express when we got the fish, and I was in 28,000.
Jeez.
Okay?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just.
Was there good conditions in there? Or was it look like crap? Like was there? Because I mean, I've caught way more in shallow water, but I would hate but it looked good. There was blue water and there was bait and everything you wanted to see.
Yeah. I mean, last year we caught a 74-pound gaffer, and then I came on into the shallow water. And we had a shot at the fish that you can't weigh them when they're back there swimming behind the bait. But it looked like he one that would have qualified anyway, and he would have been in the greener water.
Yeah, gotcha.
I was scratching my head saying, "Why am I in here?" So comes, and we missed them 3 times. I said, "The way it goes." I love doing what I do. That's why I'm back running my charters and stuff on somebody else's boat, because I wake up in the morning and I can't wait to get, and I look at my phone, I look at all the stuff, and I get all the charts, the water charts, and I'm still wrapped up in it. I'm just trying to do it more economical for me.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a great decision. Is that love for the fishing still is it just bred in you? Like you can't turn it off? Like I have a hard time sometimes when I think maybe I want to do something else for a living, but I really can't turn off thinking about it constantly. It's almost involuntary when I think about oh man, we're going to get a nor'easter. What kind of water is this going to push in, certain stuff like that.
Doing what I do and dealing with people is something I love. I love talking to my customers. They're all friends and stuff. And I've been doing this now since I was 13 years old. I'm 66 years old. I love it as much right this minute as I did when I was 13. And when he comes up there, I'll holler just as damn loud as I did when I was 13. Okay, I'll eat up. I love it. Totally love doing what I did, And I'm a little bit, with this situation going on in today's world, but kind of let me down because I do still love having my own boat, doing my own thing, but I'm just, still doing it, still fishing. Yeah. Still love it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's been good to you so far. So it's kind of hard to change when you love it so well and you're doing, you've made a life from it,
Well, I think of it this way. A lot of people would love to do what I do, but I've been able to go all over the world fishing, and most of the time on somebody else's dime. And then I took my own boat, went to these places, Venezuela and all that, and had a great time and caught a lot of fish. Enjoyed myself. I had an angler that booked me for 37 days, and he got me top blue marlin angler in the Atlantic Ocean for tagging these blue marlin, and then he quit fishing totally. I'm just getting wound up in it, but people just get to where they want to be and they drop out. Yeah, but
you took the backlash to Venezuela for a couple of
2005.
Wow, how was that? I mean, I started fishing right at the end of when boats were going there, and all I hear is stories about it. And can you tell me about how the fishing was for you there?
Fishing down there was the type of fishing that you would love, and if it wasn't because of the problems down there, I'd still go back. Yeah. Beer costs more than fuel. Okay, it was 8 cents a gallon. For one thing. So we didn't worry about the fuel, but you could get up and leave a dock at 8, and you could go out and see 10 or 12 blue marlins a day if you had a good day. But then the white marlin fishing was fantastic. Yeah. You're catching tails. We cranked, I don't know how many times I'd yelling back there, crank that damn ballyhoo away from that sea turd, Yeah. When a sailfish was back there. But you're catching yellowfins. You're catching, you have a poor day, you can drop and catch a swordfish almost immediately. Yeah. I mean, a lot of things that you as a fisherman would love. Like I was fishing one day beside Butch Cox, and it was really good that morning. I think we already caught 4 blue marlin by 8 or 9 in the morning and missed a few. And I saw all the birds and stuff on the radar and looked out there, and I picked up and I was running. Butch said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going out there to catch a tuna." He said, "We catch tunas at home. Why you got to do that?" I said, "I don't catch 300-pound tunas at home." That's why, what it's all about. Yeah,
that's incredible.
I love Venezuela. And, I had that. I had the white witch down there. And then later on, Mike Merritt's wife had passed. He was running the sniper. And then I ran the sniper down there in Venezuela.
Oh, yeah?
It was just, the March until June job. And then I'd come back and take my boat, put it in the water and start running charters,
That's perfect.
Yeah, absolutely perfect,
And Yeah,
I've met so many wonderful people doing what I'm doing. It's a lot of great. I mean, very rarely you get a bad egg. They're most great people on these boats. You know.
Do you ever? I mean, you keep on reverting back to the people. Do you ever get tired of having a new group on your boat every day, or or what do you? Or now that you've run private boats and you've had your charter boat for so long, do you prefer to fish with like a group of people that kind of know what they're doing, or do you like to show people maybe that don't get to see it all the time? Do you have a preference or not? Not really.
Well, my preference is, when I'm charter fishing, most of my customers I know. They go multiple times over the years. So they're more like friends than customers. But yes, I do miss. I had some great teams that I fished that we didn't ever have to speak. Everybody knew their job and did it. And that's when we actually were doing very well in tournaments back then, in the late 90s and stuff. But I've had some great teams where if he came up there, you knew that you had just as good a chance of catching that fish as if you were on a rod. You know what I mean? And that means a lot to me in tournaments, And my fiance and I have been fishing together for a long time. And she has fished many a tournament and she's won several tournaments with me. And she's a very good angler. But her and I could never, we always get people to come help pay because we're not really in that league to go spend all that money. And usually they're the ones that get in the way and end up costing you the tournament. You say, why did I do that? You've had it, you've seen it, you've fished long enough to see that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's for sure. But you got to get out there somehow. And then, for you, you've been fortunate enough to win a couple big ones. So that's pretty, then it kind of makes sense. But I'm sure, it's a roller coaster fishing tournaments. You can go from hero to zero and back, or zero to hero and back in a day.
Oh, no question. I did very well in the 90s and even in the 80s when in tournaments and stuff. And then I went through a dead spot where I never thought I was going to win another one. And then here it comes again, but you got to fish them. If you don't fish them, you can't win them. Yeah.
Why do you think, I mean, how was that when you got into a tough spot? Did you just
went harder at it? Just try hard. Stop thinking I was a nobody and start listening to people. You just got to put it together. I mean, nobody knows it all.
Yeah, for sure. I wonder about that. I feel like, I don't know. Some days it feels really natural and you can't make the wrong turn. And then some days you're like, I don't know why this guy's getting them right next to me. It makes no sense. Like it makes sense when you actually take a step back and look at it typically, but man, it's hard to in the moment sometimes.
Oh, it's tough when you're out there doing that. And this guy here, the U-Haul, he shouldn't be catching nothing and he's whipping you and you can't stand it because you know what his tackle is. You've seen what he's rigging. He's whipping you. Man, that eats at me. So with a lot of that goes on.
Yeah, I think that's interesting here in the Mid-Atlantic because, we have just a whole bunch of different people that get to go fishing here in the mid. Maybe not so much this year, but in years past, you go out there on the weekend during a good tuna bite and, there's 300 boats of all shapes and sizes, And I think
y'all got, and like at Oregon Inlet, that's why I like fishing there in the spring. We got a fleet to find them.
Yeah.
One boat wandering around can sure drive around a lot of fish because I proved that myself many a day. Yeah. When you got a bunch of boats spread out, it's a lot easier to get on them,
Yeah.
But Ocean City and up there, sometimes I feel it's a few too many boats.
Yeah, can be.
Yeah.
I try not to fish myself in a fleet of 60, 70 boats, but sometimes the fish are only so many spots and sometimes it's kind of obvious where they're at.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I love it up there. I mean, it's good fishing. You got a lot of good canyons, a lot of good bottom structure and stuff to fish, Yeah.
And
you got people up there to go look. They don't care if it's 100 miles. They're going to find water. They're going to go look at it.
Yeah, it might be different, but there's a lot of people in town saying, we're not going to go searching. We're not going to go look, and we're going to wait for somebody else to go get them. And I'm like, well, everybody I've talked to has said that so far this year. So I guess we're just not going to go look at We're never going to find them.
Never going to find them.
So it'll be interesting, but I'm sure, I don't know. I mean, it's down, like you said, Oregon Inlet before we started the Oregon Inlet fishing. And I mean, South Carolina, when I came through there on my way home this year, it seemed like business as usual, and Morehead City seemed like business as usual. So hopefully it's not as bad as they're going to make it out to be, but it's going to be interesting.
I hope not. And fishing, a lot of blue marlins coming up the coast, a lot of white marlins. I've already caught several out there tuna fishing and stuff, and everybody who's gone looking for them that hadn't had the meat hogs on board that have to have the tunas have very good days marlin fishing. Rifle Beach has been good. Morehead's been good. It's been a pretty good season starting off on the Billfish.
Yeah, I'm hoping that kind of creeps up the way. Have you ever noticed a correlation, like any sort of correlation between the spring fishing in the Carolinas and maybe from the as the summer goes on in the northern, like from Virginia, Oregon Inlet to Ocean City? Have you ever noticed like if there's a lot of mahis around, it'll be because it's obviously it's completely different water, but have you ever noticed a trend that's stuck from down there to up here or not really?
Well, actually, if you get a piece of water up there, y'all probably are going to have great fishing.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times the water gets around us somehow or another here.
Yeah.
And it comes in better up there around the Washington and stuff than we get it. But right now in Virginia Beach, we're very lucky. The water shoved all the way up to the 100 line. It's good fishing, but a lot of big eyes, but Ocean City and stuff, that water, it seems like you would think we would get warmer water quicker, but it seems like that water will wrap right around and come to y'all first.
Sometimes we get, the water I get most excited about is actually comes from further north from, directly from the Northeast out behind the Hudson or down from the Hudson way. I feel like I've had, for me, some of my best fishing in water that's come not even only from the east, but even further north than that. And
I agree with you. The biggest days I've ever had with a lot of numbers and stuff, it's been water I've watched roll down the edge.
Yeah.
Down here, that's the best fishing.
Yeah.
You know?
Tell us about those days. That day you caught, what was it, 47 in the blue or 41 in the blue? I remember.
41 in the blue Hawaii.
Yeah.
Well, that was one of those days that I had friends that used to have boats and stuff.
Did you see that water coming?
Yes.
Yeah, okay,
yeah.
Cool.
I watched that water, and the day before I had that day, we caught several and had really good fishing. The next day, I called some friends because I did not have a charter, and they got on a boat. We went out there. Actually, I had 3 mates on board, and one gentleman that didn't fish a whole lot, and another one that did. And that's what made the difference on the bites. But we didn't even get out there until like 9:30 in the morning and start bites. And actually, we'd have caught more. I ran out of bait. The truth was be known. We had picked up and came home early because that's all about. Well, fishing with Horse Valley, who trying to hook white marlins at the end of the day. But we had a lot of bites. I don't know how many times I have no idea how many fish we raised. There was so many times we'd have a triple or a quad on, and you'd be looking back there, and there's still all over everything you had a bait. But I had the right crew to put it together.
Yeah.
I wish I'd had more bait on board. This time I always got a case and a half, but that's not enough when you're getting 75, 80 bites, maybe more. Who knows?
Can rip through it pretty quick. Was that? Really? Was that out in the deep or was that in on the bottom?
On the bottom.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
From the north side of the canyon to the 600 line right there.
Okay. I got you. Right where they live.
That's where they live.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's just incredible. I remember hearing about that and seeing that picture. Seemed like your riggers were about to almost break off with all the flags. So. Yeah,
that was good fishing. But like I say, we went out there the day after Duffy had caught all those fish to try to get our record back. And the fish, there were so many boats there. It was no way. I ended up trolling back down to the south side of Norfolk and ended up having a great day. At the end of the day, caught a dozen or 12, 15. And we thought we were bored. Okay. Yeah. We were expecting more.
Yeah, that was that year you could have, I felt like back then, that 2010, that area. I remember working on in 2011, I worked on the charter boat, the Marley out of here at Ocean City as a mate. And we were chunking on the hot dog out front and we just couldn't, we caught some tunas right off the bat when we were chunking. And then my captain was like, oh, let's just troll, run 5-6 miles offshore and troll around a little bit and see if we can't catch a couple white marlins. And damn if we didn't catch 2 out of 4 in like an afternoon. And just like, it was just like they were everywhere. Back for when I started, it was almost like you could catch more white marlins than tunas were a lot more difficult to catch. It's on some days than white marlin.
That's what I'm saying. A lot of times when the tuna fishing is really, really good, the marlin fishing is not as good. But this year, we had an Oregon Inlet. We caught tunas usually in March and April and stuff. We're still having our days there that we catch a limit, but we always catch 8, 10, or 12 a day for our charter and dolphin. This year, we were having a rough time catching fish until, I guess, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And when they came. People that have been there their lifetime and never seen it any better at any time.
Wow.
And hopefully it stays that way. I'm going to be there Thursday, so I hope it's still there.
The sharks haven't been as bad this year so far, right? I'm sure so.
No.
It's good.
Last year was the first time Rachel had ever called me on the phone and said, what in the hell are y'all doing? I got a tackle shop bill bigger than we've ever used. I mean, we went through, and this is going to sound like a big exaggeration, but my mate went through 800 sea witches last season.
I believe that. Yeah.
I mean, we got just our clocks cleaned. You didn't put a bar in the water. If you did, you're just donating it to the sharks.
Yeah.
This year, I've had a couple of days. I had 3 or 4 fish eat off, but that's it. I mean, no days where you have 30 bites and get 3 fish to the boat.
Yeah. I mean, having a couple of fish eaten when the fishing's that good doesn't seem uncommon to me, but to have to have that switch around where you only catch 2 or 3 versus catching, with 30 bites or something like that that's alarming.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of alarming because, I've done this my whole life, and up until the last, let's say 5 years, I've had more tunas eat off in the last 5 years than I've had 45 years before that put together.
Yeah.
That tells me the shark population is getting pretty tough.
It's
I got Sailfish Marina, because I ran charters out of Sailfish Marina in Palm Beach for 12 years and ran private boat center too. I never had a sailfish eating off. I got friends that told me they had 30 eat off this winter.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just totally unheard of,
Yeah.
Not now though. It's normal.
Yeah. So hopefully, man, maybe you see a little change in the way that's going. I mean, thankfully it hasn't been, I haven't at least heard that it's been too bad. So hopefully it stays that way.
Yeah. It only got bad. Only when you hook, when I get 4 or 5 big eyes on, then you're doing a little prayer, hoping you get 1 out of 4 or 5. Yeah.
Do you do any of that live? Did you do any of that live baiting, or do you just troll typically there in the Norfolk?
I've live baited around the Norfolk Canyon for 30 years or more.
Yeah.
But I don't do it very often. What I do, if I'm having a bad day, I could always slip out, drop the rig to the bottom, catch the bait, go out and catch the person 1 or 2 fish, and then just pull off of it and go on fish. Well, some other people now and they actually made a business doing it. And there's nothing wrong with it. But they sit there, that's all they do every day, 7 days a week. And they do very well at doing it. And there's days where I might see 4 or 5 trolling that they might catch 15 or 16 live baiting.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them one bit, but you get all this ridicule from it, and a lot of people don't like it, but a lot of people have never done it. Rachel and I had do it when we got our stepson on the boat. We do it when it's just us.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's easy to teach them how to hook the fish. You watch them chase the live bait all over the top of the water, and I don't mind it one bit. And we're using circle hooks, so we're not really hurting any fish.
Yeah, it's not any more than regular fishing, that's for sure.
Yeah. I mean,
I find it interesting that I mean, I don't know what it's like to the south of there, but I mean, people have tried it up above the 650. What, for anybody who doesn't know where the 650 is, it's almost directly between the Washington and the Norfolk Canyon. And I mean, people have tried it all the way up to the north in the range of Ocean City, but it doesn't. The only place it seems to be super effective is in that area, which is just fine with me, But I just
they're not putting the time in.
Maybe
there you don't see them. They went up there and worked at Washington and stuff with a tank up. They would catch them just like Oregon Inlet. I've been down that way and throughout tankers, and it don't take much time at all to get a bite. Problem of it is you do it around, and I don't blame those guys around that fleet and stuff. They get mighty upset with you, so it's just easier for me not to do it. I've been most of those people for 40 years, and I really enjoy being friends. I don't need to be in the middle of a, problem over catching a fish, Yeah. It's not have friends that will come help you when you need it. Yeah.
No, I just find it interesting. I just think I think it's cool that's like one of the best spots, I think, to go when the conditions aren't great. You feel like if the bait's there, you could still go there and get some bites, even if you're trolling, but like it doesn't need to be this pretty blue water that other places up to the north need to be to have fish, And I think it's super cool. I think I can only imagine what's actually going on underwater there, It's
unbelievable. But you put that tanker out there, you can sit there and watch that tanker mackerel go crazy on top of the water, and you can see a hammerhead coming 300 yards away. He's zeroing in on that tanker mackerel. So it's the same things happening with that white marlin. They hear the vibration, they get the sound, And I've done a little bit of it the last couple of years. Don't even think I've tried it the last couple of years, because we've had enough stuff and the tuna fishing was good enough and I could give my customers what they needed, So, but I have nothing against it. I probably should do more of it. There's a particular vessel that does it every day, 7 days a week, nothing else. They don't care about tunas, don't care about anything. It's all he does, period. He does a great job with it, catches a lot of fish, probably catches over 30 blue marlins every year doing it.
Yeah.
It's, I have no problem with it.
Gotcha.
But I have customers that like to troll, and they think bad. Nothing bad about it, but they're paying me, so I do what they want me to do.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But it is what it is. A lot of people think it's bad, and some people don't. I think it's okay.
Yeah.
Either way, let's take it with it. Run with it.
Yeah, it's fishing. I mean, I'm kind of glad that it hasn't caught on up above the Norfolk too much, which is fine with me. But I can't say I've never done it, because I have. I've done it a handful of times, and it's all right. It's not what it's like when you get one on the teaser or anything like that. But it's its own stuff. So but I don't know. I'm just glad it kind of. In my opinion, I feel like I'm thankful that it's super isolated to that spot. Yeah,
need to stay there. We catch elephants doing it. We catch all kinds of stuff doing it. It's early in the year. The Makos, it's hard to get past the Makos when you put that live tinker out there.
Yeah,
it can be fun. I mean, if that's what they want to do, it's what they want to do. It's all good.
Yeah. So, and then moving forward, like you've got to the point where you sold the Backlash, and now you're running another boat. And how does that feel? Do you feel like you're still into it? I mean, there's no lack of passion in your voice when you talk about fishing or anything like this. How does it feel to be kind of moved on from one section to another, or one time in maybe your career to another,
Well, it has bothered me. I'm not going to say it hadn't. I didn't have to sell the boat. I could have hung on to it. I could have hung on to it forever, but I was just looking at the times and looking at, thinking, what about retirement? 4 or 5 years. I'm getting ready to renew my license for the 10th time right now. It's just, I'm going to do it until I can't do it, and I don't know what that's going to be, but the value of my boat was probably higher when I sold it than it would be 2 years from now or 3 years, because, how the market was insane. The way it kind of worked out, Rachel and I were getting married here shortly, but we were sitting there doing the book. She's always done the books with me. We're sitting there where my mate was getting married in East Lamahara on the weekend. So we were going to fly down Friday afternoon. We talked about it on a Thursday. We looked at the numbers and stuff and said, well, this is every year less and less. Insurance went up 3,000. Knockage went up 3,000. This goes up, goes up, goes up. I said, well, maybe we ought to sell it. She said, well, if you think so, let's go ahead and do it. I called a broker. When we landed in Mexico the next day, we had 7 contracts on the boat.
Wow.
So I sold it too cheap. But anyway, the people that bought it, they've already caught 6 blue ones and several white ones on it out of Morehead. Nice. They're loving the boat, and I'm so happy for them because they're really nice guys.
That's great.
So
how do you, you're 60s, so you're 66, Steve. How do you, it's not a terribly physically demanding job, but you got to be like, it is kind of physically demanding. You're not like lifting bags of concrete or anything like that, but it is taxing on the body. Did you do anything that kind of to kind of stay in the game like that? Because a lot of people in this industry, they get to your age and the kind of body's letting them down.
I feel a little bit of here and there hurting a little bit, but it's okay. Mainly I had a little problem with the bottom of my feet where I wore them stupid flip-flops all those years on a flying bridge of a boat, but I'm doing great. Like I said, when days you hold on all day and stuff like that, it is part of it. I love it.
Yeah,
it is what it is.
You didn't do you exercise or watch what you eat or anything like that? Or
I eat everything I see. That's about the size of it. No, I just love it. And, I hunt and do all that. I stay active all the time.
Okay, yeah.
If I sit around, I'm not going to, I don't want to waste away. I want to keep doing this until I can't do it no more. That's all. And I'm going to keep doing it, I think Rachel would leave me if I didn't do it. She met me by chartering me, 25, 30 years ago. That's how long we've been friends. And her husband and her chartered me all the time. And then a bad thing happened. He passed away at a young age, and she was chartering a boat. And then next thing you know, she wins the Village Open with a 600-pound blue marlin with me. And it goes from there to just start fishing, and she kept fishing. And I got lucky. I hooked her and hadn't broke her off yet. It's all good.
Awesome, man. Are there any days, is there we go through times when the weather sucks or the fishing sucks, and you kind of got to have something to maybe think back to about why we kind of do this kind of crazy, insane job. Is there is there a certain day or a certain time that you kind of you reflect on sometimes when the fishing's slow? Be like, all right, eventually something like that's going to happen again, or
Well, you're asking me a question that you've had happen to you. We all have it. Yeah, we get bummed out. It's hard to get up at 3:45 to go fishing if you know it's going to suck.
yeah,
It's hard to do it. But when they're biting, you're ready to go. But you know something? It's fishing.
yeah,
Just because it's not good today, that don't mean it's not going to be good tomorrow.
yeah.
Like my famous saying is, it's good until it's bad. And it's right on through. It is,
It's
you
bad.
gotta figure it out. If you're not there every day, you don't see it. And I've been fortunate enough, like last year, 150, I run every day when you're there. I got a lot of bad days, some days I don't like it. But then if you're there enough, you're going to see the good days. This year, I kind of bummed out. I took this weekend off. The man that owns the boat, he loves to do it. He bought the boat to charter fish, really. But he's got other obligations where he can't do all he wants to do. But it kind of bummed me out this year when they're catching the last couple of days. He's catching all these. I don't even want to look at Facebook. I don't want to see his catch.
Yeah, I get it. I always get I don't know, when I was in college, which was a complete waste of time for me because I ended up becoming a fisherman. But I was in college in 08, 09 to 2011. And, I was fortunate to get in some great fishing there in 2010 and everything. I skipped a lot of school, but, then you just you're sitting in class, and that was just I could just when Facebook was starting to be a thing amongst fishermen. And you'll see the pictures of the flags, and I just get this horrible pit in my stomach. Be like, I can't believe I'm missing out on this. Do you still get that?
Yeah, when me growing up and stuff, we didn't have Facebook and all that to go by, all these other things. But when I'd sit there at the marina and see the flags come in, I say, "Darn, I wish I was there." So,
yeah, I mean, I remember getting when I first started working on the blood money, when boats started coming in, or you start to hear from offshore that it's good, you're like, oh, we got to get somebody together to go fishing. I would get in this, I couldn't even control it. I wouldn't have a meltdown, but I'd get crazy excited and try to figure out how I'm going to get out there and fish, whether it be on my boat or freelance on another boat. And I feel like when I stop thinking about when I don't get that pit in my stomach when I'm missing out on some good fishing, then I'll probably be done. But until then, I think I'll keep going.
Well, if you got it as bad as I do, pit's always going to be there.
Yeah.
Just like when I was on the private boats, when I see the catches come in, I would be on the phone. You got to go. It's good now. Well, we can't go it yet. Well, it might not be good then. You got to go now,
Yeah. Did you find that difficult when you were working on running private boats, that not being able to be out there? Or you call your boss and be like, "Oh yeah, I'll be down next week." And it's next week is
everybody I work for were very good about it. I mean, they liked it. They wanted to go. And most times I called and they would tell me, "Hey, if it's that good, we can't get there. Take the boat, get some friends and go catch them." I've been very fortunate when it comes to that.
Yeah.
I've never had an owner tell me I could not use the boat ever.
That's cool.
That I work for. So I've been very fortunate when it comes to that. So, and I have worked for great people. And most of the people I work for, we talk all the time. We're still friends,
Yeah.
So it's good.
That's pretty cool, sir. Well, I appreciate the time. I think it's amazing when I've been fortunate enough to talk to some older guys throughout the industry, and to hear them still being fired up about it is really, really cool, and I feel like I've gotten myself a little bit bummed out here, with the way the fuel prices and the way the world is. And, you can kind of get in your mind of being so negative, but to hear you be so positive and still excited kind of gets me fired up again. I really needed it. So I appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate the conversation with you. And I'll see you up there at Ocean City. I come up and hang around the dock a lot.
Sure.
Go with our good friends, Rosie and stuff and all that. Matter of fact,
you're a strong-willed man if you've been friends with that guy for a long time.
We lived together. He worked for me for a couple of years. And I worked for him when I didn't have a job before.
Yeah.
So it's a love-hate relationship with him. You know how it can go.
Oh yeah. He is a good fisherman.
Yeah. But he is a good fisherman.
Yeah. He's a great guy. Really, I mean, he's always definitely taught me plenty. You know, after the first couple of years where he didn't like the first captain I worked for, so he would just stare at me as I walked by his boat. But then, as I grew up, he was nicer to me as we went on. So.
Well, that's just him. You know, like as many years as I've known him, I think the first time I knew him in the mid '80s, he worked for me. I think it was in '88 in Mexico and stuff. Anyway, it was all good. There goes my animal.
Yeah.
Somebody coming over.
So. Well, cool, sir. I greatly appreciate the time. And if you when you come up to Ocean City, please stop by. And the blood money is not hard to find. So if you come on one of your boats, I'll track you down. So I appreciate it.